36 years of basketball knowledge and life skills. Your host, Coach Goins, focuses on today's topics on and off the court, helping players and coaches achieve their goals. So get ready for another fast break episode of Basketball More Than a Game with your host, Coach Goins.
Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another fast break episode of Basketball More Than the Game. And I'm your host, Coach Goins. And like we always say, make sure you got your sneakers on, you got them laced up tight, and that you're going to lean, listen, and learn. Because today, joining us on our Sunday conversation is none other than Mr. Abdul Gaffier. Mr. Gaffier, welcome to Basketball More Than the Game.
It's an honor, Coach. Thank you for having me.
Oh, not a problem. So, folks, let me just set this court up and set this offense, defense. I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Abdul years ago. When I say years ago, I'm talking about in the late 80s. And as I think I was a rising junior or senior, and all of a sudden here comes these freshman ball players on campus, and I happen to know one of them pretty good because he was on my high school team, and this guy coming out of Northwood High School. I make sure I'm correct on that. Am I right, Mr. Abdul?
That's right. Northwood Chargers out of Pittsburgh.
That's right, Pittsburgh, North Carolina. So he is actually born in Charlotte, North Carolina, and went on over to Pittsburgh and starred there in basketball. But again, we just wanted, number one, thank you for your time and your effort. As we kind of sit down and have that Sunday conversation with alumnus, a great leader, just a great husband, a father. And that's what Basketball More in the Game is totally about, Abdul, is just being able to share with our listening audience, give them a platform to be able to find out information on how to better themselves. And again, basically, we just spend time. And again, this is made possible by folks like yourself that's willing to share their stories and just make an impact in everyone's life. So again, we certainly appreciate that. So without further ado, folks, we're going to go ahead and get started. And most importantly, we got to pay the bills right off the top. So the first fast break edition is brought to you by Curtis Jackson, who is an independent broker, benefits coordinator out of Creedmoor, North Carolina. So if you're in North Carolina for your insurance needs, I appreciate him for his continued support of Basketball More Than the Game. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right on down into the fast break session. So Abdul, if you don't mind, as a former high school star, when did you know that you could play basketball at the next level?
Well, it was I like the little story. I'm going to tell you, I actually was playing in Northwood, and I wasn't being highly recruited at the time. But one of my games, my senior year, we played at Apex High School. And my friend, Tim Watts, had written a letter to Pembroke State University, now UNC Pembroke, and invited one of the coaches to come watch him play. And actually, Coach Scott Copley was the assistant coach at the time, and he came and watched Tim play. And actually, I had a very good game that game, and he talked to me after the game and expressed some interest in recruiting me. So it was by happen chance that really I had an opportunity to come to Pembroke because they came to see another guy on my team and actually saw me. That's why I always tell young people, you're always on display. You never know when your opportunity might come. You'll be seen and have a chance to play at the next level. So that's kind of how it happened for me.
You know, and that's such a great call out. And that's, as I tell my young guys that I've been working with, you never know who's going to be in the gym. As Mr. Gaffier has continued to lay that down, and that's why we call this the fast break session. And you wonder why he's on this call, you'll find out it'll come in loud and clear. So he's taken and he's seizing that opportunity to be able to again rewind, take a look, see what he's done, and be able to move on forward. That so once you got recruited, you landed at Pembroke State University. And I think what a great institution, and it's grown so much, folks, that you don't know. And I always tell people, we had an opportunity. To me, it's the best kept secret in Eastern North Carolina. And with that, so when you got on campus, what do you think your greatest adjustment when transitioning from being a high school player to a college player? What levels and what things did you have to focus on to make that adjustment?
Well, I'll tell you the first thing I noticed, and I mean the facts are, when you come to college, no matter what level you play on, every player on your team was the best player or one of the best players in their conference and on their high school team. So, you're not playing with guys that are, second, third string type guys. Everybody was a starter. And in our case, everybody was the best player on their team. So first thing I had to do was step up my game to the level of the guys that were playing on the team. I was 18, a freshman, and then you're playing with, really grown men, 21, 22-year-old men, and just the stress, the speed of the game, and the experience that these guys had versus what I had experienced through my days. So, I think that's what a lot of freshmen have to experience when they get to college. You just understanding that, hey, these guys are all what I was, and sometimes better than I was in high school. Everybody was their best player, so what you did in high school no longer matters once you get to college.
Okay.
So that's the first thing I had to do was understand that, and really just step up to what I was facing every day in practice.
And again, it's eloquently put, folks. And as you say, you young guys, I'm going to give you a second to get your pen and paper out and get back to the mic or the radio. But most important, listen to what Abdul is laying out here for it. What you did in high school is high school. And what you do in college, and you come through there, and as you said, everybody there is a superstar, and you got to be ready to rock and roll. So with that, let's kind of go back a little bit to Northwood High School. Actually, they were in our conference when I was in school, and we might have played you and didn't know who you were back then. And I came out in the late 80s. I'm about to date myself, the mid 80s. But in that, what is your greatest moment on the high school basketball floor?
Well, it was a team moment. We won our conference championship my junior year, and that was the first time that Northwood had ever won a conference title. So it was great. Our school was only about 8 or 9 years old at the time. So I don't remember. I think I played fairly well that game, but I just know that the happiness that we had as a group, as a team, winning that conference title was probably the highlight of my high school career. And that's why I like for people to understand, or young people that play a team sport. That's the ultimate accomplishment. And now, basketball is becoming so much more individualized. But every team's goal is to win a championship. And when that happens, it's a team accomplishment, and there's no greater feeling than to do that.
And that, that's a great call out, and and we're gonna get in. I want to get ahead of myself. We're gonna talk a little NBA before we get off this call tonight. If we don't, we won't be doing ourselves the just due. But in that, folks, you may say, who do we have on the call? We have Mr. Abdul Gaffier, and again, originally from Charlotte and grew up in the Pittsburgh area, but he is a 1990 graduate of the University of North Carolina at Pembroke with a BA in Public Relations. He received his master's from the University of Tennessee at Knoxville in 1993, and he was a 4-year letterman in basketball and a 2-year letter winner in track. And he was a starter on the 1990 Carolinas Conference Tournament Championship, and that was at the University of North Carolina, and he was under the tutelage of Coach Dan Kenny at University of North Carolina. So again, just a great career on the court as well as off the court and after graduation. So we just want to call a little bit of things out there. So for when he finished at Pembroke, not only did he finish, he came back and he made a difference. This is one of the things that I always kind of, as a not too much older, but a couple years older, be able to stop and look at the things that he was able to do. But in 1993, he was assistant director of student activities, and in 1998, he became the SID, which is Sports Information Director, and in 1999, he was named Director of Student Activities. So as you see, not only did he go to school and make a difference when he was there, but he was able to return to our alma mater, because I was a graduate of Pembroke State University, which is now UNCP, but he's made a difference not just on the court as well as off the court. So we definitely wanted to call those couple accolades out there as we move into this next pick and pop question. So with that, what is your greatest moment of your college career?
Same thing. We won a conference championship my senior year, and my career was developed slowly. My first couple of years, I didn't play a lot. And so I learned a lot about myself, and I kind of put things in perspective. I got involved with Student Government Association, and I got involved with being a resident assistant in dorms and a lot of things outside the gym that helped make me a more well-rounded person. So by the time I became a senior, I did move into the starting position. And, for the first time, we had an opportunity to win a conference championship, and that by far that's the greatest sports accomplishment that I ever experienced in my life, was coming together with guys in college and winning a championship. We played at High Point University against a team called Pfeiffer College out of the Charlotte area, Meisenheimer, and the team that we beat, Pfeiffer, we actually had beaten them 3 times.
Wow.
They only lost 6 games all year and actually went to the final 8 of the NAIA championship that year. So it was a great accomplishment to beat them 3 times, but that 3rd time was in the conference championship in overtime, and that was just, I remember that just like it was yesterday, and so that's definitely my greatest accomplishment in college.
And think about that, folks. Like I said, I knew a couple guys on that team. One was actually head coach now at Fayetteville State University, and someone I grew up with very close, Ken Spencer. Actually, Abdul just played a round of golf earlier this week with Ken. So again, it just shows you, how deep the basketball channels run, and just it's more than a game, and that's why we do what we do, and it takes people. Not like from my end, but it's the folks like Mr. Gaffier, who takes time out of his busy schedule to be able to stop and spend a little time with us. So as we get ready to finish out this third question on the pick and pop session, let's talk a little bit about this NBA Finals. I tell you, I don't know where you stand, but I'm really struggling with the big man out of the game. I'm really struggling with the Curry and his, when I say lack of showmanship, I guess I really want to call it the lack of professionalism. The things they called out with him last night, laying down below the bench, just like I was offended. I mean, and I don't have a dime in the game, but as a fan of the game, I'm really concerned about that. Did you have any opinions, or what's your take on the whole NBA Finals?
Well, I think things have obviously changed. Me growing up in the 80s and 90s, and loving the Boston Celtics and the Lakers rivalry, and the Knicks, and Olajuwon with the Rockets, and in Detroit, those teams, those many dynasties that kind of came through. The way the game was played then was so much different than it is now, and it's a much more individualized game. So I'm a fan of Curry. I'm a fan of LeBron and so many of the players that are playing. Klay Thompson and everybody. So the way I look at the game now is so much different than when the Pistons played the Lakers. You had your stars, but everybody saw the Lakers as a team, as a unit. And now when you see Durant in Golden State, you see Curry in Golden State. Whereas before it was the Lakers featuring players, and now everything is just so much more individualized. And I've tried to maintain growth with because I have a son that's 15, and he enjoys the individual side of the game as well. So I know that things are different, and I don't want to be that old curmudgeon that's critical of all the young guys, but I probably wouldn't have done something like that, laying down with my face covered or having a towel over my head. Those things weren't tolerated back when we were coming through, but it's a different game, and kids are different, and they express themselves a different way. So I try to just appreciate the way that they play, and and not really get too much into what they do with their behavior and all the excess celebrations, the stuff that people would have taken a hard foul on us if we had done something like that, But it's a different game and a different time, and I just enjoy what they're doing now and just kind of take it for what it is.
And folks, and you wonder why he's on this call, because as Mr. Gaffier was sitting there dropping those dimes and nuggets and laying it down, he made Coach Goins take a step back, and you nailed it on the head. Maybe sometimes I'm too old school. Man, I get wound up. I mean, like last night, I was getting fired up, and I guess it's just the passion of the game. But I really want them to be able to respect the game. And again, I guess but I appreciate your insight. That really kind of helped me, kind of take a step back and appreciate what those guys do. And as the game changes, and that's part of I guess that's part of what I need to be able to do is to adapt. And take a look at it from maybe a different light, but in that just shows you the caliber guy that you are, to be able to embrace that and be able to open all of our eyes. I know some of the other guys that might be listening may be struggling with that same piece. So again, we certainly appreciate that. So what I'm going to do is give Mr. Gaffier a second there to as we get ready to transition into our next phase, and we want to definitely appreciate our folks at Act Sports here in Stanton, Virginia. And for your recreational sports needs, you can go to their website at playactsports.com. They will be starting brand new this summer track and field, along with already up and running volleyball for girls, rec basketball, boys and girls, travel basketball, as well as flag football. So we definitely want to encourage anybody that's out looking for recreational sports needs for your children. It's great development. I've been in partnership for the last 4 or 5 years with this organization. They do a fantastic job taking care of our youth, getting them prepared for on the court as well as off the court as well. All right, so Abdul, we get ready to get into the second half, and we're going to put a little defensive focus on this. And in this section, this session is called In Your Face as relates to defense. So, and the question that we're going to toss out to you is in reference to leadership. When did you recognize, or when did someone help you self-identify that Abdul was a leader?
Well, it happened my freshman year, and I give credit to Coach Coakley, who, again, was the guy that recruited me to Pembroke. I was not playing very much, and we took a long road trip to Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. And I remember sitting on the bench, and I wasn't a very good teammate. I'll just say that I was pouting and disappointing, expressing my displeasure for sitting on the bench. And again, early on in the conversation, we talked about how everybody on our team was their star in high school. Where I was having a hard time transitioning to understanding that my time hadn't come yet, and I wasn't the player I thought I was. And I remember Coach Coakley, saying to me in different words that I'll use on this broadcast, you need to get yourself together and understand that we're a team, and this is not about you. And when your time comes, you need to be ready. And you're not being a leader by, expressing your feelings in an immature way. And I just remember him, the things that he said to me, it hurt me. And I thought about how my parents would probably feel, and my grandparents would feel about my behavior on that day. And from that point on, I said, well, you know what, I'm going to work as hard as I can to play. And if I don't play, I'm still going to be as good a teammate as I can be from that point on. And, that lesson, Coach Coakley probably didn't think twice about it because, as a coach, you run across so many different players. But what he said to me resonated to me even today, all the years that it's been, that you need to carry yourself with class, and no matter what situation you're in, you need to be a leader. And from that point on, I feel like I was a much better teammate. And when my time did come, I understood how the guys felt that weren't getting to play. And whenever I came out of a game, I never sat beside the coach. I came out of the game as a starter, and I went and sat at the end of the bench with the guys who didn't play much. And that was just something that Coach Coakley gave me that I appreciate even today. You know what, folks,
and you wonder why he has achieved greatness on the court as well as off the court. So let's talk a little bit about his leadership at this point. So he has helped develop several programs when he was at the University of North Carolina at Pembroke, including the Leadership and Service Opportunities Program, Parents Weekend, and the Distinguished Speaker Series. And one thing that was really, really neat that I found out doing my little bit of research before we had the broadcast, he actually met his wife on the first day at the University of North Carolina at Pembroke in August of 1986. When I heard that year, I was like, wow, man, I was like 1986. I was like, my gosh, I was a sophomore, and I was just like, wow. So what a tremendous story. In reference to all of that. And if you don't mind, share a little bit of that, meeting your wife on the first day at campus.
Yeah, first day at campus happened to be her birthday, even. So I don't know if she got a good birthday present or she got me one of our.
That's right. Toot it, man. Toot your horn. Toot it.
Yeah, but I just happened to, she was walking by, and just got her attention as best that I could, and just walked up to her and introduced myself to her, and we kind of became friends, and that was 1986, and we got married in '93. So, but we've been together much longer, and we're still together. And we have 3 kids, and we just welcomed our grandson to the family 2 weeks ago. He was born. So my oldest daughter just had her first child. So we've been together, and I saw Coach Copley again. I give him so much credit for everything that's happened in my life. After God, he's probably as important, because everything that happened at Pembroke is because he really encouraged Coach Kenny to give me a scholarship and to recruit me and to bring me to Pembroke. And again, it goes back to the things that happen in your life that help you develop as a person. From Coach Copley coming to see another player, seeing me, giving me an opportunity to play at Pembroke. He wasn't the head coach, but he encouraged Coach Kenny to scholarship me. And by me coming to Pembroke, meeting my wife, and everything else that happens after that with my kids and all that. So, I just encourage young people to make good decisions, take the decisions that you make seriously, especially as they relate to where you go to college and, who you choose to spend your life with, because those decisions affect your life forever. So that day in 1986 was probably the best day of my life, because, everything that happened from that point on in my life has involved my wife, and and here we are all these many years later, still together.
How about that? And then coaches, that what a great call out. Abdul is laying down for his coach that recruited him. And again, just what a great testimony for anybody that's ever coached. The impact that you make on your players, the words that you say, just stopping, pulling them off to the side. Think about what Abdul shared with us when the same coach that recruited him, I had that conversation with him during the game in reference to what was going on the bench, and still had that favor, and still, he fast forwarded, almost 20 plus years, and he's still been able to stop and appreciate everything that coach has done for him. So again, that's why we call this section of the podcast In Your Face. So with that, here's the last question in this section. It's, what is your greatest strength and what is your greatest weakness?
My greatest strength, I would say, I'm a good communicator, and I feel like I am able to communicate well with young people and motivate them and help them to, because I do understand that as a coach and as a leader, as a mentor, what you say and do can affect a kid or a young person throughout their life. So I think I'm pretty good at that. And my weakness is probably, I don't know, maybe I spend too much time sometimes thinking about people's criticism. And, so I guess I have sort of rabbit ears when it comes to criticism. And the same thing that kind of pushed me to be a better player, because of the things that the coach may say to me, bothered me so much that I felt like I had to improve. But sometimes in life, people are going to criticize you, and a lot of times you may not have control over it. You got to kind of stand for what you believe in. So, I'd say it's a little bit of a weakness, but it's also helped me to be successful as well.
Okay, excellent. So in that, we appreciate you being open and honest and sharing some of the, as we call it, in your face moments in your life. And again, just a great testimony and tremendous work that you and your wife are doing in Robinson County and surrounding areas. So we definitely want to call that out. So here we go, as we getting into the last session of the podcast. One of my favorite, we call it In the Paint. So what we're going to do, we're going to be working about a 3-question strategy here in this section, and making sure that we're not getting called for 3 seconds and just hanging out and cherry picking under the basket. But no, in that, we're going to jump right on in that. So if you don't mind, folks that don't know, Abdul is in charge of the Angel Elite Sports Program, which I've only heard great things. I've been to Pembroke. Oh gosh, it was in the summertime, and we rode through and actually by the building for the business, and as well as the sports complex. And if folks, if you've never seen it, you are missing a treat, and it just absolutely 100%. So if you don't mind, can you share with us about the development, how Angel Elite Sports came about? How did you guys land on that name?
Well, the name of our company is Native Angels Home Care, and so we sort of took the Angels and made that part of our moniker for our sports teams. And we really started out when my oldest daughter was 9. I think she's 25 now, so it's been about 16 years. We started with basketball. And just last night I was thinking about the number of kids just in the last several years that went to college and played a sport that were involved with our program. And I came up with 16 kids over the last 6 years that have, competed collegiately.
Wow.
And it's just it's great pride, because we, of course, we didn't. Some of them, like we had a girl that played basketball for us, and she ended up playing golf in college. We had kids that played basketball and ended up, doing track, and it's just really fun and exciting to look back at the kids who, obviously they had parental support and things like that too, but they used us as a vehicle to continue their sports, in the off season, and trusted us, or these parents entrusted their young people to us, and that's why we did it, was to expose kids to colleges. We used to take our girls basketball teams to an event called the Deep South Classic, which was held at Durham, Raleigh, and Chapel Hill at State, Carolina, and Duke. And we used to not only go play, but tour the campuses and express to them the importance of, having the college as a goal for them, whether they play sports or just go to college academically. And it worked out for us. And like I said, having that many young people, we had many more that go to college that didn't play a sport, but just it gives me great pride and confirms that what we've been doing is a good thing.
Folks, and you wonder why. So stop wondering why he's on basketball more in the game, because think about what he's said. Over 16 participants in the Angel Elite Sports Program has gone on to further their education through sports as well. And again, it's not just about sports, and that's the same thing about the podcast. So what Abdul and his staff is doing, and think about it, they travel, they go on these campuses, and not just having the wow factor of, hey, I'm on Carolina's campus, I'm on Duke's campus. They taking a step back from the court, if you will, and taking a look at the campus and what it has to offer from a academic side of the house. So huge things. But as we say all of this and the things that he's been able to accomplish, but most importantly, think about some of the things that he had called out earlier. He's not doing this by himself. Again, he married his college sweetheart that he met on the first day on the campus of the University of North Carolina, Pembroke, and they have 3 beautiful children. And I know, his son is a great golfer. Been able to track him via social media, and I know that his daughter competed in Houston for some track and field at East Carolina. Am I correct on that? So if you don't mind, if you can just share a little bit, and actually kind of leads into my next question. So let me just pose the question, and then I'll turn it over to you. If you don't mind, share with our subscribers what the key thing that in your mind from work-life balance of being a businessman, being a father, as well as a community organizer.
Well, you just have to have passion, and as far as being, a community organizer, people want to know that you legitimately care about them, and if they feel like you care, then people will get in behind you and work with you. And as far as raising, children, I think the same passion is important. And I know for me, having a team, my wife and I, and even grandparents and so forth, working together, because we balance each other. When I'm overly critical or push the kids too much, and she's the one that's like, hey, back off, you got this too, she did do that. And hey, you got to listen, because a lot of times you just need someone to help you recognize that you are, pushing them too hard, or maybe not patting them on the back enough. So it's been very much a team endeavor for us to help our kids excel athletically. And all 3 were different. My oldest daughter played volleyball, in college at Lewisburg, and then my daughter just completed her 4 years at ECU, and she's got 7 school records there at ECU. She had a great career. And my son is just now about to start high school, and he's a good athlete, good basketball player, good golfer. But all that comes from as a team, I know there's so many single-parent families out there that are doing a phenomenal job, with their children. And I have so much respect for people that are raising their kids by themselves or as an individual, because it's so difficult to do it even as two. So, and so many moms and dads are doing a phenomenal job because I see it every day. But I really have a high amount of respect for people that are raising their kids without the help of a partner, because I know I have to have a partner to help me be successful, and that's how it's worked for us individually, as a family.
And that's a great call out, just hats off, and just again, tremendous job, balancing, your work, and again, and your family. So let me just add a little a comma to this. What does Abdul do in his free when it's like, okay, what do you do to relax? Share, because that's an important piece. I mean, we say work-life balance, but what does Abdul do when he's unplugged?
Well, my favorite thing is to play golf. There's no question about that. That's if I were to go back and answer your question about strengths and weaknesses, I'd probably say my weakness is golf. I love it so much, and whenever I get a free minute, I'm out there trying to play. And my son and I went and played today with one of our friends, so we get to spend a lot of time together doing that. My wife likes to play. So it's not all bad, but when I have some free time and I need to mow the yard, or I got 18 holes waiting for me with a buddy, I'm probably trying to split the yard and get to the golf course. So that's probably the weakness too. But it's something I love to do. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything like that. So it's an outlet for me, and it's something I've been doing for about 11 or 12 years now, and it's just my favorite thing to do. I'll go play golf before I watch a football game or a basketball game on TV.
How about and think about that, folks. You're talking to somebody that was a high school star, college star, and now has picked up those clubs and chasing that ball. And as we always like to say, it's your ball. You can hit it as many times as you like. And when he's playing with Ken Spencer, you got to keep your eyes on him, make sure that he's making sure he's writing that scorecard down as accurately as possible. But no, in that, so I know you shared with us in reference to Angel Elite Sports. And where do you see yourself with Angel Elite Sports in the next several years from a growth standpoint? Are you guys looking to expand into other states, or just basically just share your vision if you don't mind?
We stayed small. It's so competitive out there, Coach. There's so many AAU programs, travel programs that are doing it for different reasons. There are a lot of great programs out there, too. There are also some programs out there that, there's money to be made, and it makes it difficult, a lot more difficult now than it was 10 or 15 years ago, because the people's expectations are different now. And, we don't charge. We don't use it as a moneymaker. The only thing that kids pay for instance, if we have a basketball tournament, whatever the cost of the tournament is what they pay. It's a uniform, and we have to buy new uniforms. They may buy the uniform, and of course they keep the uniform. So we don't have like an administrative fee and all those types of things that some of the organizations have. Not knocking them, because that's their way of doing it. But for us in Robeson County, we knew that this is not something we could do if we charged an exorbitant fee, because people here just can't afford it. So, as far as growth goes, we let the community dictate, what we need to do. And, we actually are smaller now than we ever have been, but still very active. And, I've been involved in a lot of coaching in the high school level now at Fayetteville Academy and so forth, but we are still active, but we're not as big as we were, say, 12 or 15 years ago, because we've had so many things change in the county. And so now we're smaller, but we're still very effective in what we do. And, down the road, I can see us growing, but that'll be dictated by, the needs of the community more than anything.
Yes, sir. So, again, we certainly appreciate you sharing that. So, folks, let me just drop this out. Walter Gaffier, put it on your radar. You just need to, and he's a rising freshman high school. Is that?
Yeah.
And he's attending what high school?
He's at Fayetteville, North Carolina.
All right, so folks, there you have it right there. So make sure you put it on your radar, and you heard it right here. Basketball won the game, and don't be surprised what's going to come out of that young man. Because again, one thing about it, he comes from a great family. Very, very well grounded, and nothing but greatness is going to happen to him on the links. Again, just a great time as we've had this Sunday conversation with Mr. Abdul Gaffier. So with that, as we start to close this out, what I'd like to do is just turn the mic over to Abdul for his, what's on his heart, what he'd like to share in closing with our subscribers.
Well, I'd like to just commend you on what you're doing, Coach. I've been following it, and it's really an honor for me to have an opportunity to be on your program, because you've had some wonderful people, and we've been trying to do it for a couple of months. So I'm just glad to have the opportunity to do it. I appreciate the people that are listening. I appreciate your sponsors, because I know that support is so important on what you're trying to do. And I just pray for your growth, and just hope that things continue to go well for you, because this is something that's very, very much needed. And I'm just really proud of what you're doing. And again, just an honor to be on your show.
And I certainly appreciate that. And as it says in the word, iron sharpens iron. So when this, I want to call it a vision, came to me, and I was like, I want to move forward with this and just give it back as much as possible. And in doing so, that's why I just been able to go, as it says, took a deep dive and just started carving through some names and folks that I know that would be able to help us out and make an impact. So we're going to definitely, we're so excited about our direction. And for those of you that don't know, iTunes as well as Switcher has picked up the podcast. So we are national now. So this will be national just as soon as we get this thing cut up and ready to be aired, and we'll definitely get that information out to you. So in closing this, as we say, don't forget to like, subscribe, and add us some feedback. And again, we'd like to thank Curtis Jackson out of Creedmoor, North Carolina, for our sponsorship, and the contact is 919-614-5796. So, Mr. Abdul Gaffier, again, from the staff of Basketball More in the Game, we definitely thank you for your passion, your time, your excellence, your leadership, and wholeheartedly, I know that the folks of Robeson County are blessed, and I know as well as your family, and I know your mother and father. I know they're proud of everything that you've accomplished, and as well as, we send our regards to your lovely wife as well. And we just, again, thank you. We just thank you for your time and effort. So in closing, folks, we always close with our scripture verse, John 14:6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. So this is your host, Coach Goins. Thank you so much. And as we always say, somebody somewhere is working on the game. And I'm your host, Coach Goins, and I'll see you in the gym.